Hello everyone, welcome to Advanced Knowledge Systems and a warm welcome to AKS IAS Academy, which is one of the premier institutions in India, and it offers examination coaching for UPSC CSC, State Public Service Commission, and combined graduate level exam, also along with the CLAT examinations. So do visit AKS IAS Academy and also the website of AKS IAS Academy. About me, I am Sandeep Bhushan Tumala, and my credentials are I have 10 years of teaching experience for civil services. I take up international relations and internal security and the analysis of the Hindu newspaper. And this session will certainly help you because I would be emphasizing on the keywords and the key phrases throughout the analysis of the Hindu newspaper, wherein we can be identifying the factual, analytical, and conceptual questions for the preliminary examination, and by imbibing the keywords and the key phrases in your answer writing, your answers would also be precise and concise. Therefore, this session will help you to score maximum marks for mains 2020 as well as prelims and mains 2021. So do follow the entire session of AKS IAS Academy daily news analysis. And this is in regards to DNA, that is daily news analysis of the Hindu newspaper, that is today's, that is 16th of December 2020. And before we get into the DNA of the newspaper, we will look at the quote of the day. And the quote of the day says that success isn't overnight, it's when every day you get a little better than the day before, it all adds up. So what is important is that each and every day the progress you make, it adds to your final success. So therefore success isn't overnight, it's when every day you get a little better than the day before, so that all this adds up and it will lead to success. And now we will look at the news, and we will also go ahead with the daily news analysis from the Hindu newspaper. And the Ministry of Education panel has recommended, or it has suggested measures for the effective implementation of reservation policies in IITs. And this Ministry of Education has constituted a committee. That committee would suggest measures for the effective implementation of reservation policies in IITs. So here the keyword is reservation policies in IITs. For the effective implementation, the Ministry of Education has constituted a committee, and that committee has recommended that the institutions like IITs should be exempted from the following policies, especially in regards to the faculty recruitment. There should not be any kind of reservation. And the committee has said that its recommendations are primarily or on argument that there is a need for IITs to maintain. So definitely the IITs has to maintain the academic excellence, and when they are supposed to maintain the academic excellence, there are lack of candidates for faculty recruitment. There are lack of candidates for faculty recruitment, and especially from the reserved categories who would fulfill the qualification criteria for the faculty recruitment. So the committee which has been constituted by the Ministry of Education, so that committee suggests recommendations that the effective implementation of reservation in IITs, and that has to be exempted for the faculty recruitment in the institutions wherein they have to focus on the academic excellence. And the Institute of Excellent Exempt. So we'll look at the what the report has suggested, that is the committee which has been constituted by the Ministry of Education, and the report which has been obtained by the Right to Information Act. The committee suggests that IIT should also be included into the list of Institute of Excellence. So this is the keyword here, because there could be a probable question in the prelims 2021 saying that which among the following list, or which among the following has been included in the list of IOE, that is Institutes of Excellence. And these IITs have to be included in the IOEs, and they are to be exempted from reservation policies. See, look at it very clearly. The report is suggesting that IITs have to be included in the list of Institute of Excellence, wherein they will be exempted from reservation policies, and these IOEs, that is the Institute of Excellence, would be exempted from the reservation policies under an act called as Central Education Institutions, that is Central Educational Institutions Reservation in Teachers Cadre Act, CEI Act of 2019. So this is the keyword which you need to focus, that under which act the committee report suggests that IIT should be included in the list of Institutes of Excellence, wherein they would be exempted from any kind of reservation policies in regards to the faculty recruitment, and that would be under the act called as Central Educational Institutions Reservations in Teachers Cadre Act of 2019. And now currently there are 8 institutions which are in the list of Institutes of Excellence. They are Homi Bhabha National Institute, and their constituent units are also part of the 8 institutes. Along with the Homi Bhabha National Institute, you have the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research and Space Physics Laboratory, and the Indian Institute of Remote Sensing are on the list of IOE, that is Institute of Excellence, wherein the reservation policies are exempted in regards to the or pertaining to the faculty recruitment under the CEI Act of 2019. So this is the key word wherein you need to focus for the prelims as well as mains examination in regards to the Institute of Excellence. And the committee which was constituted was in the year 2020, and it has the directors of IIT Delhi, that is V. Ram Gopal, as the chairperson, and the director of IIT Kanpur, that is the registers of IIT Bombay and IIT Madras, together are also part of the members. And you have the representatives of the committee which was constituted by the Ministry of Education, that is from the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and from the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, and from the Department of Personnel and Training, and from the Department of Persons and with Disabilities. They are all the members of the committee which has been constituted by the Ministry of Education. So this could be again the probable questions for the preliminary examination, because which among the following were members of the committee which was constituted by the Ministry of Education to suggest measures for the reservation policy in the recruitment process of faculty for the Institute of Excellence or IITs. So here Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment was the member, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Department of Personnel and Training, and Department of Persons with Disabilities. So this is crucial information for prelims as well as mains examination. So here the Ministry of Education panel has gone ahead with or else the committee has suggested, the committee which was constituted has suggested to scrap quotas for faculty in IITs. And another news which talks about is that there is a probability which the Law Ministry is now nodding or accepting to seek postal ballots for NRIs. So definitely now there is a possibility which is going on, or the process or the proposal which is going on in regards to the postal ballots which can be considered for the elections or Indian general elections or any kind of elections for seeking postal ballots from NRIs, and this was a proposal from the Election Commission of India to extend the concept of postal ballot option even to the overseas electors, that is for the NRIs, which is actually pending with the Law Ministry, and the Law Ministry has now nod, or it has given acceptance to seek that postal ballots for NRIs can be taken into consideration, and the ECI has written a letter to the ministry, that is to the Law Ministry, so that they would extend the facility to even the NRIs in regards to the postal ballot option, which wherein the ECI has written a letter that the postal ballot option can be started with the assembly elections, which is supposed to be taken up in Assam, West Bengal, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. So the assembly elections in all these states, the ECI has written a letter to the ministry, that is the Law Ministry, to extend the facility of the postal ballot option to the overseas electors, that is NRIs. And ECI, that is the Election Commission of India, has also stated the conduct of elections rules 1961 would need to be amended. So definitely now the Election Commission of India's proposal to extend the facility for the postal ballot option to the overseas electors NRIs would need the amendments to the conduct of election rules 1961. So this is the key word which you need to focus, and it should be part of your short notes in the mains examinations, that the postal ballot options to the NRIs can be taken up or can be extended by amending the conduct of election rules 1961, so that they can send the postal ballots to the NRIs electronically from India, and then the NRIs from abroad can send back via post. So this is the one which can be amended, and this is what the ECI, that is the Election Commission of India, has written a letter to the Law Ministry to take or to amend the conduct of election rules 1961, and this system is called as electronically transmitted postal ballot system. So this is the key phrase which you need to understand, that what is the proposal or the system which the Election Commission of India has written a letter to the Law Ministry to extend the facility to the NRIs for the election, for the assembly elections which is supposed to be taken up or which would gradually be conducted in Assam, West Bengal, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. And this ETPBS, that is electronically transmitted postal ballot system, used to send ballots, or it is used, or it was used only for service electors, but now it will be extended to the NRIs, that is overseas Indians, if at all the proposal is adopted and if at all there is an amendment being done to the conduct of election rules 1961. So this is definitely in regards to the polity perspective, that is in regards to the elections or Election Commission of India, and also this can be in regards to the diaspora or Indian diaspora. This can be again in regards to the international relations for GS paper 2. It can be used. That is, what is the provisions being provided by the government of India to the diaspora, that is here the NRIs, in regards to the overseas electors. And there is another news which talks about that OCI students eligible for government quota. So the government, for the government quota, the OCIs are eligible, or OCI students are eligible, that is overseas citizens of India are eligible, and this is the verdict given by the Karnataka High Court, and the Karnataka High Court has declared the students under the OCI category can be considered as the citizens of India for admissions to professional courses. So here the concept, the analysis is that the Karnataka High Court verdict that it has declared that the students of OCI category can be considered as the citizens of India for admissions in professional courses, and the High Court of Karnataka has directed the state government, that is Karnataka state government, to admit the OCI category, that is as the citizens of India, to be admitted into the professional courses, that is undergraduate professional courses, which are engineering, medical and dental, and even under the government institution quotas. And the Karnataka High Court has directed the state governments that the citizens of India, that is the OCI, which falls under the OCI category, should not be restricted for their admissions only under the NRI quota. So here there are two definitions or the keywords, that is NRI and OCI. So again, this is a very important concept in regards to the diaspora, which is the subject or the topic for the GS paper 2, that is the international relations, which certainly there would be a question in the mains pertaining to the diaspora. So here you can quote what the High Court of Karnataka has directed the state governments, that the OCI category people can be admitted or can be considered for the admissions to the professional courses in engineering, medical and dental, and also under the government and institution quotas, and the government should not restrict their admissions based on the NRI quota. So there is a clear definition or demarcation between the NRI and OCI, and this is again a very important news for the diaspora, that is for the mains perspective. And the division bench of the Karnataka High Court has delivered the verdict while dismissing an appeal. So there was an appeal filed by the government against the judgment which has been pronounced in the year 2019, that is in April 2019, and this was a single judge verdict which was actually allowed the OCI student to seek the admission in the professional courses, that is based on the regular quota of seats. But this verdict of a single judge bench of 2019 April was challenged, or a petition was filed in the Karnataka High Court by the government, but the division bench of the Karnataka High Court has dismissed the appeal which has been filed by the government, and this division bench has quashed section 2(1) of the subsection N of the Karnataka Professional Education Institutions Regulation of Admission and Determination of Fee Act 2006. So here what you need to focus is that the Karnataka High Court has quashed a section. First it has dismissed an appeal by the government, and then it has quashed section 2(1) of subclause N of the Act, that is Karnataka Professional Education Institutions Regulations of Admission and Determination Fee Act 2006, as this act was amended in the year 2017, and it has included that the OCR or the overseas citizens of India card holders are to be within the definition of NRI. So when the division bench, or as per the section 2(1) of subclause N of the act which was amended in the year 2017, and then when it was amended, it has included the OCI under the NRI. So now what the division bench or the High Court of Karnataka has said it, they should not be considered as an NRI, but they should be provided the admission for the professional courses based on the category of OCI. But in 2017, this act was amended and OCI card holders were defined under the NRI, and that was quashed by the division bench. So this is the technicality or the analysis of how the OCI were actually being termed as NRI in the year 2017, which the Karnataka Professional Educational Institution Act 2006 was amended, but now the court very clearly directed the state government, that is the Karnataka state government, to accept or consider the admissions of the OCI category, but not under NRI. So this is again very crucial for the diaspora subject or the concept or the topic diaspora in the international relations for the mains examinations. And there is another news which talks about that there is spike in return of people to Bangladesh. So we have seen in the past that Bangladeshis were actually getting into India, but now we have seen that there are instances that the people are returning back to Bangladesh, and this is as per the data by which is been provided by the Border Security Forces and the National Crime Record Bureau. And since last 4 years this data has been collated, and according to the data by the BSF and NCRB, it says that the number of illegal migrants, that is Bangladeshi migrants, were caught. Here look at it, they were caught. When they were caught, not when they were entering into India, they were caught when they were moving or leaving the country, compared to those coming in illegally. That is, the one who were getting in were less than the one who are leaving out of India and getting or moving into Bangladesh has increased. So this is a very peculiar scenario of the case, which the data which has been provided by the BSF and NCRB highlights that the illegal Bangladeshi migrants, now they are caught not getting into India, but they are caught leaving the country rather than coming into India illegally. And as per or else till December 14 of 2020, as per the data of the BSF and NCRB, there are 3,173 illegal migrants who were trying or attempting to cross over to Bangladesh. Look at it, they are not attempting to cross or get into India, but the illegal Bangladeshi migrants in India are attempting to cross over to Bangladesh, and this is 3 times, that is this number 3,173 is 3 times more than the illegal Bangladeshi migrants who were caught while they were trying to enter into India through illegal means or illegally. Look at it now, the one who is crossing over to Bangladesh has increased rather than the one who were trying, that is the Bangladeshi migrants who were trying to enter into India through illegal means have come down, or it has come down 3 times. So this is the data which is very crucial, because we can again use it as the short notes for the mains examination in regards to the internal security for GS paper 3 of the mains examinations, how the illegal migrants, or you can again look into the NRC also, which is that the illegal migrants who have entered into India or the northeastern states from Bangladesh. Now you can consider that as part of the NRC or also the mains internal security from the GS paper 3. And when we look at the Bangladeshis who were actually getting into India or leaving the country compared to 2017, 2018 and 2019, if you look at in 2000, these people or the illegal migrant Bangladeshis leaving the country is 2,600, 2,921 compared to who were living 1,351, 1,118, 871 people respectively who have entered illegally. So the data very clearly shows that the one who have entered, the Bangladeshis illegal migrant entered, and the Bangladeshis illegal migrants leaving the country is comparatively very high. And the reasons, now we will look at the reasons why the entry is low and the exit, that is people who are moving, is higher. Because it could be that the illegal Bangladeshi migrants would wish to avoid the paperwork and the documentation for the out migrants based on the NRC. So they would wish to avoid the paperwork and documentation is the first cause, and it could be because of lack of work in India or northeastern states because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation and the subsequent lockdown which the government of India has announced. So we have looked at the data of the BSF and the NCRB, which has made it very clear that the Bangladeshi illegal migrants leaving the country are higher than comparing with the one who have entered into India through various illegal means. And we have also focused on the reasons why the leaving the country is higher than entering into India. And we also have the another news wherein the British Prime Minister now will be the chief guest for Republic Day celebration of 2021. And this was announced or was made it publicly statement by UK Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has said that Johnson or Boris Johnson, that is British Prime Minister, will be the chief guest of the India's Republic Day celebrations in the year 2021. And not only that, he has also stressed on the Indo-Pacific region. So this is the region which is crucial for India and also various other countries, that is Australia, US and UK. And in turn, the 3-day visit by the UK Foreign Secretary and the discussions which are happening with the External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, here he has stressed, that is the UK Foreign Secretary has stressed that the Indo-Pacific region is the highest focus area for or part of the UK's foreign policy. So certainly UK's foreign policy is emphasizing on the Indo-Pacific region as one of the highest focus areas. And certainly the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar of India has also made it very clear that both the countries should make a difference to the rules-based global order. So definitely, rather than rules, there has to be some kind of mutual understanding that the multilateralism has to get into the process of the rather than having the rules-based global order. So they have committed to make a difference to the rules-based global order. So this is another keyword which you need to focus, that India is definitely wishing or wanting to coordinate with countries like UK to make a difference to the rules-based global order. And the Foreign Secretary has also stated that the Prime Minister of UK, Boris Johnson, has invited Mr. Modi to join the UK hosted G7 summit. That means UK will host the next G7 summit in the year 2021, and our Prime Minister, that is India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has been invited for the next or 2021 G7 summit. And the UK and India are definitely working for the free trade agreement. So we have looked at the free trade agreement are being taken up or it is being under proposal, and both India and UK are working for an enhanced trade partnership. So enhanced trade partnership is definitely into the mode of a probability which would be a positive one, and this enhanced trade partnership will be a stepping stone for the free trade agreement between India and UK. So what is important is, before the free trade agreement, there are various steps taken up for the working positively for the enhanced trade partnership. So this is the crucial keyword for the implementation or both the countries coming up with the free trade agreement. And the future free trade agreement is expected to be part of the post-Brexit that UK would be leaving the European Union, and of the British economic plan. So the free trade agreement between India and UK will be part of the post-Brexit British economic plans. Please do understand. The free trade agreement between India and UK would be part of the post-Brexit British economic plans. So this is the keyword. And the Foreign Secretary has also confirmed that HMS Queen Elizabeth carrier would also visit the Indo-Pacific region in the year 2021, because they made it very clear that Indo-Pacific region is definitely a focused area of UK's foreign policy. So based on the focus on the UK's foreign policy, the HMS Queen Elizabeth carrier would visit the Indo-Pacific region in the year 2021. So definitely this is the analysis which we have focused, that it would be part of the India and UK bilateral relations. So definitely here we are focusing in regards to again UK's foreign policy, how it would be based or linked or compatible with the India's foreign policy. Because India wish to make a difference to the rules-based global order. Rather than unilateralism, we wanted multilateralism. And there is another news which focuses on the CATSA sanctions. So what is CATSA? CATSA means countering America's adversaries through Sanctions Act. So there is an act which is part of the America, which it wanted to implement whenever a country, X country, is having a trade or relations with the Y country, and wherein this Y country is an adversary to America. Adversary in the sense you can take it as enemy or not having friendly relations with America. So the Y country which is an enemy to America, but X country is having trade with Y, then America will impose CATSA Act, that is countering America's adversaries through Sanctions Act on the X country. So now we will look at the same kind of scenario wherein the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has announced that US has imposed sanctions on the NATO ally, that is Turkey. So CATSA Act is now imposed on Turkey. Why it is imposed on Turkey? That is, the Sanctions Act have been imposed on Turkey because Turkey has purchased Russia's S-400 missile defense system. So because Turkey has purchased the Russia's S-400 missile defense system, so the sanctions have been, that is CATSA Act, have been imposed or issued under Section 231 of CATSA for purchasing Russian's arm. And now why we have to focus this is because it might be the same kind of US imposing the economic sanctions act, that is CATSA, under Section 231 onto India also. Why? Because New Delhi or India is also in the process of buying the S-400 missile defense system from Russia. So there could be a possibility that as US Secretary or US has gone ahead with issuing the Sanctions Act, Economic Sanctions Act on Turkey through the CATSA under Section 231. So there is a possibility that US might also take up the same process of imposing the CATSA Act on New Delhi, because New Delhi or India is also in the process of buying the S-400 missile defense system from Russia. And Mike Pompeo, that is US Secretary of State, has made it very clear that the issue of sanctions of CATSA is a clear signal by the United States that United States will fully implement CATSA under Section 231 and it will not tolerate Look at it. It says very clearly that US will not tolerate any kind of significant transactions with Russia's defense and intelligence sectors. So it doesn't like any ex country to have the transactions with Russia's defense and intelligence sectors. And whenever there is a significant transaction, so US will not tolerate and it will implement CATSA section 231 on that particular country. Now it has implemented on to the NATO ally, that is Turkey itself, and there is a possibility that the same kind of scenario might arise onto New Delhi in the process in the future, because India is in the process of buying the S-400 missile defense system from Russia, and the sanctions were imposed on Turkey's main defense procurement agency. So which is the Turkey's main defense procurement agency? It is SSB, that is Presidency of Defense Industries. And this defense procurement agency of Turkey, that is the Presidency of Defense Industry, is engaging and having a significant transaction with the Russia's main arm export entity, that is ROE, that is Rosbon-Export. So Rosbon-Export is the Russia's main arms export entity, which is now having or had a significant transaction with Turkey's main defense procurement agency, that is with SSB. So there is a possibility that in the prelims there could be that which among the following statements are incorrect in regards to the economic sanctions of US onto Turkey. So here the sanctions were imposed on Turkey's main defense procurement agency, which is called as SSB. And not only in regards to the sanctions, but there would be sanctions on the loans also. So there would be sanctions on granting specific US export license and authorization for goods and technology. So definitely it is, once the purchase is now concluded between Turkey and Russia, so SSB sanctions will comprise ban on granting specific US export licenses. So US export licenses would be banned, and authorization of any goods or technology by US to Turkey to the main defense procurement agency of Turkey, that is SSB, will be banned. And there would be a ban on loans and credits which the US financial institutions which have also provided to Turkey around 10 million US dollars, and there would be ban on US export import bank assistance for exports to the Turkey also. And along with this there would be sanctions which would be including even the blocking sanctions on the visa restrictions on the main defense procurement agency, that is Presidency of Defense Industries, that is SSB President Ismail Demir, and other officials of the main defense procurement agency of Turkey, and all the full blocking of sanctions and visa restrictions onto the SSB President and officials and to the procurement agency will also be taken up as per the CATSA under section 231. So this is the US imposing CATSA on sanctions onto Turkey and possibility onto New Delhi in the future, because New Delhi is also in the process of buying the S-400 missile defense system from Russia. So now we will look at the recapitulation of the DNA. So we have looked at the Ministry of Education, which has now looked at Institute of Excellence, wherein the faculty recruitment should not be taken into consideration as per the reservation. And the Law Ministry, this is in regards to the postal ballot for NRIs. So this is again in regards to the diaspora we have looked at. And OCI student, the Karnataka High Court has given or directed the state government to make sure that the OCI students are eligible for government quota. Here again we have looked at NRI and also OCI as per the acts, and this is again part of the diaspora, wherein the Karnataka High Court has made it very clear, directing the state governments to consider the OCI students as the citizens of India and be eligible for the admission of the professional courses. And this is in regards to the spike in return of people to Bangladesh. This is as per the internal security and also NRC also you can focus this, and the British Prime Minister would be the chief guest. And then we have also focused this as per the UK's foreign policy, based on the international relations and the relations between India and UK, you can focus this. And the US imposing the CATSA Act or sanctions onto Turkey, and then there could be a possibility that it will also impose the CATSA sanctions onto Delhi, because in New Delhi is also purchasing the S-400 defense missile system from Russia. So these are all the analysis which we have taken up in the daily news analysis of the newspaper of the Hindu. So I hope this was very informative, knowledgeable session, and which we have focused from macro level and micro level, both from mains and also from the prelims perspective. So I would say a very big thank you to all, and I would also say a good luck to you all, and do maintain consistency, stick to your schedule, and take care of your physical health and mental health. And then like the video, share the video, and subscribe the AKS IAS Academy English Medium YouTube channel, and also visit the website and sign in to the Telegram link of AKS, that is Advanced Knowledge System. And then see you again tomorrow for the daily news analysis. And then till then I would say thank you, and then make sure that you utilize your time judiciously for the civil services preparation. Thank you very much.